Hi guys, and welcome back to Taylor Talks Trades. In today's episode I'm joined with the Construction Forum Committee. It's a wee bit of a Construction Forum special, so we're going to be discussing some of the industry issues, but more so we're going to be discussing why we've actually got together as a peer support group and how that can hopefully help other businesses in West Lothian. So I'm joined here with all previous guests of the podcast. So if you want to check those guys out individually, you can go back to the previous episodes and do that. We've got Mark Hamilton here from Colorado Construction. We've got Colin Smith from J-Size Surfacing and Land Technology. And we've got John Sibbald from Sibbald Training. So welcome along, guys. Here we go again. So I think really it's just it's not a case of starting and going, how did you get into the trades and all that stuff. It is a Construction Forum special. So I think really where we can start is like why we actually started the forum as such. And I think that probably came relaunched. Aye, good shout. But basically, like, we know, like, between the four of us, and there's others within the forum, and in the we've got Brenda Cumming, who's from the Chamber of Commerce, that helps us on the committee as well, and has been brilliant for us. But out with that, we're more thinking, how do we reach more people and help them? And I think that's really, we've enjoyed the chats that we have with each other, and we all say it's no maybe enough, but I think it's just a giving back thing, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
I think so. I think there's a need for it as well. I think there's businesses needing help, needing signposted, and finding the time when you've got the day-to-day to look research into whether it's training or whether it's health and safety or whether it's regulations or access for tenders. Sometimes just having that conversation with other people or like-minded companies just helps. I mean, I've done it. It was from the last forum meeting. I've set up a meeting with Business Gateway, and I'm now getting help with training. I'm meant to be meeting up with John. We've said a few times just to see. There's some of our guys looking to do development training. So from just basically the networking side of the forum meetings, I'm using that in my own.
It's easy to get stuck in the hamster wheel as well. So what I find with the forum meeting is it gives you an accountability to actually stop the day-to-day and go to that. And then you go and you realise all these problems everybody's facing the same. Before we started, Colin mentioned that, there's a variance of businesses here. I'm domestic only. You're more main contractor, you're subcontractor, and you're coming in for the training angle. So although there's like 4 different sectors within the sector there, we're all facing the same issues, whether it's, skills shortage, trying to employ people, maybe payment terms, like all these different things. So I think... and
we've all tried different things and had different successes as well. So you can learn from other people's successes as well as their failures. Tried that, didn't work. Yeah. So rule that out, that's not going to work for you. If there's a new company coming along that's got all these ideas, you can maybe help them to refine some of the ideas, so it's not just... trying everything until something sticks. We've had the successes and the failures that we can give a bit of advice, and there'll be loads of other people in the room that will have the same similar successes and failures that can help with any stage of development you're at as well.
Yep, and I was a big believer in, and it comes up in the podcast all the time, like success leaves clues, and it really does, but like failures leave clues as well, and that's something that you touched on there. When someone's failed at something and they can actually share that, I think that's massive, because like you'd probably rather avoid those pitfalls if you can, and I guess ultimately that's what we're trying to do, is knit us together so that we can just basically build on that, like hear what the issues are. Most of them that's coming up are the same issues, and then it's really just like, see if it's just a sounding board. How valuable is that? Without all the other stuff that we can offer, maybe down the line, like an actual sounding board. Like me and you, John, have spoke about that multiple times, where we'll go for dinner the odd time and we're like, why do we not do that more?
No, exactly. No, it's a great opportunity to just share like you say, common challenges and common problems. You go back to my podcast I done with you, and I always spoke about early days, and I always thought, oh man, the challenges within my business, and my business is broken and stuff like that. But actually, when you sit down, everybody has the same challenges on a day-to-day basis. If you're running a business or managing a business, you'll always face challenges. So it's good to share the challenges and actually come up with solutions and good ways of doing it. And also, you go away just feeling a wee bit of a breath of fresh air when you're networking with people as well, like-minded people. I think it's crucial to say that the construction industry across Scotland is absolutely massive, but West Lothian alone has got so many small SMEs who can all help work together, learn off each other, and don't see each other as competitors. Actually see each other as whether it's to help with their supply chain, to help with just shared ideas, that type of thing. It might be collaborative approaches. So the forum is going to, it's already. We came away with the relaunch. We came away the last time, and I think we were all pretty buzzing because the last one was pretty good. We had good conversation round about the room, and we just need to keep growing on that, and hopefully doing like this podcast will help. Yeah,
I think the momentum's definitely building, and once this episode comes out, we're going to be probably a week after we've just had an event there. So we've just had a great event, guys. It was amazing. But no, we'll have done that one, and I think that'll be our third one that I feel that's been in person, held at your place, John, at Sibbald Training Park, out at Sibbald Park, sorry, and it's got a wee buzz about it. And I know that every time I've went, I'm feeling good coming away from that, and I don't know whether that's just the energy in the room or if it's just the fact that it just feels good to share and network and help people. That you can feel it's making a wee bit of difference. If you come away feeling good, you've got to then bet that the people who came and attended must have felt good as well.
In that up, I think to a year ago where the forum was, it was you by yourself essentially, and we would dial in every now and again. Yeah. Before we formed the committee, it was a thankless task for you. You need the support. You can't do everything by yourself, and that's hopefully now having a committee. It's made wider reach. We all target ourselves with encouraging other businesses to come along as well. So hopefully grow that, and as that grows and develops, it snowballs, and you get more influence, and more people come along, more people can benefit. Yeah. So
no, that's been great. It's actually been invaluable. It just you couldn't. Just even being able to bounce it off you guys and say, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? That's probably how we pushed for the in-person, because I knew deep down that I'm just an in-person person. so I hated all that Zoom stuff and the COVID times, and you were going on to that call, and you didn't even know everybody who's on the call, because it's sometimes because there's so many rosy people, and it's easier for probably people to attend into that and just put it on and maybe not quite be dialed in 100%.
It's more of an information session, like a check-in, 15 minutes.
So I think we all agreed on that in-person is the way to do it, so we committed to that. John's been great in helping us with the space and allowing us to have a venue to go to, because this is all... There's no funds. There's nothing here yet.
And committing to a monthly meeting, whether it's some might be busy, some might be quiet, but if we have a slot and we have a time, and if anybody wants to come along for a coffee and a chat and ask a question, or hear, because we've had some great speakers already, here's some information. If that topic ticks your box, then people know that. Was it second Wednesday in the month? Yeah. There's a forum meeting. So
I think the format of it is actually, because we kind of went into the format a little bit like, will this work? Will we try that? So we're obviously getting along topical speakers. We've had Business Gateway along. We've got CITB at the next forum, which is great because it's relevant to everybody in West Lothian. But it's very informal. It's open at the floor. It's just a discussion. People can chuck in what their experiences are. It's actually, I think it's a great setup the way that it's working now. It's not. I like the fact that it's not too formal. I like that kind of loose approach.
And I think that's what it needs to be as well, because when I always think of it, I try and put myself through all my marketing ventures that I've done. I always try and put myself in the sort of the customer's position, if you like. So in this scenario, it's obviously not a customer or a member, but it's just a trades business owner probably needing some help. But I put myself into their shoes, and I think that they would maybe look at us and go, oh, well, they've got quite big businesses or, do you know, whatever, and they're quite well established, and they might go, I'm not really want to go along to that and feel stupid. So if that is you, then make sure you come along and join in, because we all started there at one point as well. So I think...
And likewise, if you are a big business, come along, because you've got a lot of value to give to the other businesses. So, even if you're an employee of a big business, you've got something to share from a different perspective. It's all good stuff that we can all use.
And that is it. It's like, so it's no business too big, no business too small sort of thing. It's like everyone can add their bit of value, and it's like there's no a silly question to be asked. No. Because the silliest one's the best one, because it's one nobody wants to ask, but they went, I was thinking that. So that's the ones to get asked.
The other thing with the format, just thinking what you're saying about the format, John, we're pretty determined that it doesn't just become an open-ended talking shop. So there's a time for a coffee and a catch-up. There's a organised slot with a speaker, and then some folk hang about, but a lot of people, once it's finished, they can get away. They know it's not going to be drifting on and on and on. So it's
that's what I quite like about it. Every single meeting, at the end of the talk, there's people hang around and catch up. I need to speak to you about something.
Nobody feels like they have to.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're only there for a bit, then that's fine. But if people generally will hang about if they've got the time. So it's always nice to see. You can catch up with folk you've maybe never met, or meet somebody that you've not seen for a wee while again. So that's been quite good about it.
And that's it. And we'll probably just continue to grow with the speakers as well. In terms like the Business Gateway, Lynn Martin came along. Like, that was brilliant. Like, I actually really enjoyed it, because although I know all of that stuff, and we probably do access quite a fair bit of the funding that's available, or look at the grants and try and utilise them as best we can, it's it just reminds you that, that is there.
Oh, see, I was the opposite. We don't.
Yeah.
And from that very event, I've since met up with Lynn. She's given me loads of advice, and now I'm moving forward with knowledge I gained from
and for Colorado, like, yous are like quite a big business.
Big
like,
enough,
you call yourself small because you compare yourself to the main, like the big boys. But like, I think of you as being big because I compare you to like my wee domestic roofing business. So
But it comes back to the point of all businesses of whatever size are wrestling with the same challenges and the same time pressures.
And you don't know what you don't know. And like, you can't be expected to know everything about everything. So coming along, it might highlight something that, I never knew about that. I'm going to look into that a bit more.
And as we all know, businesses our size, you don't have a department for training, a department for HR, or a department for marketing.
Unless you're John and you're a training business. I would like to think he's got some kind of training department.
So you need to find ways of wearing multiple hats, as you would say. Therefore, there are bits you know more about, there are bits you know not very much about, and you need to go and seek help and seek advice.
I would really challenge people as well to like just remove the ego, because sometimes you do think, I can figure it out myself. I do know it. I actually know it all already. I've read a book on that. I've heard. It's like, unless you've done it and it's working perfectly, which if you're in business, that's definitely a lie. Then like, come along just with like that curiosity, and even if it means that, even if you do think you know it all, then come along and share then. And then you'll probably pick something up. It's amazing to just, there's always a wee golden nugget from somewhere. And like you said, it's not always necessarily another business owner. It could be someone within Business Gateway like Lynn, who actually drops something. You go, that's really interesting. And the last meeting that we were at, Lynn had one of our colleagues along, I think it was Suzanne, and I had a great conversation with her about she'd been to university, but then she hadn't got a place yet on what she'd went and done her degree on. I think it was QS that she'd went to study. So,
did you offer her a job?
I never, but I said Mark's looking for one. But the interesting thing was, I just got a bit of feedback there. Like, technically, I'm no there thinking that's what I'm going to be understanding, because we're actually at the forum going, how do we speak to these people who's in university that maybe couldn't get a job with their degree? How do we speak to the schools? But then in a roundabout way, Suzanne's doing a placement in at Business Gateway, so she just happened to be there and was like,
and it's quite relevant.
And then it's exact question we've been trying to ask. Again, to probably touch on that, we are trying to do our bit with the schools. We've been to a few different careers fairs, probably more as individual companies, but we're going to try and do that more as a forum. Hi guys, sorry to interrupt the episode, but I just wanted to say a massive thank you to Scope Branding for being our new podcast sponsor. As you're aware, if you've been listening and following the podcast, I'm really big on my branding and having branded workwear. We've teamed up with these guys. They've done all our work at Taylor Roofs, Taylor Solar, and now the Taylor Talks brand here that you can see. They're good quality, good prices, and really good service. Go and connect with Scope Branding on their social media channels, check out their website, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode.
So I think it'll reverse back, because before you got involved, Jamie, I was involved, and it was very, very educational based. There were schools and colleges, and all these different organisations really working hard to try and help young folk find the right or a path in life. But it wasn't really a construction forum, it was more an education forum, just that had construction in the title. So the last few months we've sort of focused on what are we doing, how are we going to set up, what's our format, and we've got the meetings going and we've got the momentum, as you say. And on the side, we are still doing, you did the
Build Your Future programme.
Build Your Future programme.
Yeah.
We've all done trades fairs or careers fairs at school. So we're still doing those things, but we'll probably at some point, once we've got into rhythm, we'll probably go back in and
we'll bring education back in and say now we can help you on a wider scale.
Because we've got the links, we've got the contacts, and we know these guys are all champing at the bit, working hard to do what they do. And as we grow, we'll have more time to sort of work closer with these people. Linking in with the chamber again, the chamber do so much in that area as well.
A lot of the feedback we get on the skill shortages, the educators aren't educating people to know about careers in construction or to signpost them to a career in construction. So now if we've got all the links with the schools that can start to influence them to say, actually, look at your pipeline of careers in construction in this region alone. It's massive. The West Lothian's a fast growing region, plus Edinburgh region, Mid Lothian are all really growing really quickly. They need contractors, people to do jobs across these regions, and Glasgow as well. You're ideally situated. So we can show that as a viable career option and help them to gear up to educate kids into that as well. So
a lot of people don't realise construction is 10% of the economy and 10% of the workforce. You think about that, that is massive. It's just incredible. The amount of people, the amount of people it already has, and the continued need to bring people in.
But I think Jamie's touched on it a few times when we're in meetings and stuff like that. Like since the moment I came into, I'm a joiner when I left school at 15. But back then there was talk of there's skill shortage, and it just seems to be that same drum that's been getting banged for the last 25 years that there's a skill shortage, but we don't seem to be getting kind of over that, do we? It doesn't seem to be getting any better. It's a continued question. How do we get over that career new entrants and get and attract people to the industry?
Something I seen that was quite good. So I was having conversations with Bathgate Academy. I think you have been as well, Colin. So they're one of the ones that I think in Q1 of next year we're going to do the Build Your Future event. So that's for anybody who's listening or watching. That's where we go into one of the high schools and we put on like 4 different disciplines. So the last time it was Scotch slating, stonemasonry, monoblocking and sash and case windows, and it was just giving the young people an opportunity to see what that stuff's like and speak to us as well and go, like, I was there, I'd left there 18, 19 years ago and I was saying, look, like I've got a career in construction, employ people, whatever, like you can drop little snippets, so that stuff's great. But I think then when I was speaking to Bathgate, they've got like like all of the high schools, they've got the sort of, I would call it the 14-year-old Jamie Taylor who was disengaged and knew he wanted to go and get hands-on but didn't know how, and then just had to sit in classroom after classroom and still just keep writing and listening and getting her out for no listening and then falling asleep halfway through class because I'd been up doing the milk run all night, and just like the paper round after the milk run and stuff, and I just knew I just want out of here. But I think there is a real gap forming now where if we can have somewhere for these disengaged I'm saying the young Jamie Taylors, but these disengaged young people who we could get them into the workplace in terms of whether that's a training academy or it's workplace, like whatever it might be. There is an opportunity to say, look, let's start to get you prepared for the workplace now. Like properly, and no like you see it at careers fairs and all, let's get you, no, like let's get you into these businesses and let you shadow like somebody like me, Mark, Colin, John, and see what we actually do and how we go there, because you guys will be the same as me. Like, it's good sharing, isn't it? Because you actually sometimes think, I've actually maybe not done too bad, because we're always stuck in that day-to-day pain of what's the next thing, how am I going to fix this?
Being a really good boss that's got you to where you are.
Yep.
And if you can be that person to somebody else, it might encourage them. So engage them rather than disengage them. Like, you've got this far, you've done this, you could go further, and sometimes that push is enough, or that didn't work for you, this works for you. Stick your head in and get on with that, and you'll do well.
Even from Bathgate's point of view, they're sort of going along that, like, I'm almost saying, like, let's just pull them out and put them into something then, which isn't probably the answer either. But what they're saying is, can we by showing them that, can we make them more engaged in school? So it is showing them, like, look, you will need your maths for X, Y, and Z. You want to be estimating materials and different things, even just to be like a joiner or whatever. It's handy to know the basics of maths at least. So try and just study and get that bit. And if you could almost, if someone had done that with me and said, this is why you'll need that later.
Yeah, why it's relevant.
I think the problem is sometimes you think, like, even my wee Harry, he's 12 and he was like, half of this stuff, like, how am I going to need that? Because I'm speaking to him, we're like driving to the car, like, to the football, and I'm saying to him, speaking about business and different things, and he asked loads of questions, and then he's like, see the stuff at school, like, how is any of that relevant? And I'm like, exactly.
How am I going to need to speak French to be a roofer?
So I brought my son in over the summer to do a week's kind of work experience. He was 14, and so he came in for the week's work experience. I had him working on a spreadsheet to show him, here's an algebra equation, and that's what you choose that for, X plus Y equals. So using those kind of things and to see why it's relevant, and it actually kicks out rates and formulas, and then likewise doing measurements of the drawings. Measure that area. You might have to break it down into different geometric shapes, going old school rather than using the technology. So use a scale ruler, do the calculations, and actually you say, that makes sense, that's what I need to do, all that kind of stuff. Now you need to take what's on that plan and make it a reality. That's where you have to scale it up again. So using all these different measurements, and he was absolutely blown away by it.
It was a week's work experience back where I'm from, that because I had an idea about quantity surveying and construction, and then I went to a company for, I think it was 3 or 4 days experience, and that sort of cemented, I'd quite like this, I'd like to do it further, and that's how I ended up in college and all the rest of it. So it was that work experience that gave me that reaffirmed that might be something I'd like to do.
My work experience was at Marks and Spencer's.
Well, I did a bit of that. Well, I was at Willie Lowe's, if you remember them.
I'd been missing, that's another thing to touch on though, because like I'd been missing school all the time, just had gave up with it and was just no going half the time. And do you know, like when they were giving out like the,
how did you get into Marks and Spencer's?
when they were giving, here's the joinery sort of work placement with the council, or here's this with that one, and some people were away with like their mum or dad's businesses and things like that, and then I went in and they went, right, that's the last one there for you, Marks and Spencer's, and I was like, oh no. But to be honest, actually I loved it. Like,
because you were working.
I think it was like people. So it was like I just sort of like helped on the tills, and I could see the people coming and then seeing them going away happy, and I was like, it was a real lesson in customer service. And then even when like I got told like you need to go and fold the jumper a certain way, so I was folding all this stuff and making sure it was set out in certain places, like that's marketing. They'll pick that one first, they'll pick this. There was loads of wee lessons, and then like people coming in asking you for help and you being able to answer that, like I took to that quite quick. I was like, oh, I like the feeling of somebody coming in to our store. I'd only been there 3 days, but you know, and then going, that I can find that for you, or let me go and get you an answer on that. And it just like there was so many lessons. So I think it's just probably applying yourself at school. If you, it's hard to know what's going to become later on.
Anytime I speak to anyone at the careers fairs, and some of them are quite blasé, they say, I'm going to university. don't know what for, but I want the experience of going to university.
Yeah.
So right, okay, that's one kind of tactic. You might waste your time, but at least you've got a bit of a plan. You've got to get decent grades. But what I would say is get a job. Get yourself a part-time job or something like that. Learn some of these communication skills,
Build a
people
CV.
skills.
Because they're universal.
Yeah.
Them skills are universal, whether it's Marks and Spencer's or it's in like a mechanic's garage or it's on a roof or it's whatever. They're universal skills. How to deal with people.
That's quite funny.
Being responsible to be somewhere at a certain time.
Absolutely. Getting those life skills.
Yeah, get all those life skills under your belt, as well as if you're studying, then that's fine. It's transferable. But if you've only got a degree and no transferable skills, then you might find yourself snookered when it comes to looking for a job because somebody else that's done work placements or part-time jobs or had
Got a wee stepping stone, haven't they? Absolutely.
See, on that note, like, if you were hiring at Colorado and it was, like, you did have the option of person A, they've came straight out of school, went to university and studied it, but there's zero experience, or person B, and they've got like loads of real life experience and they've got like really good values and they could fit into the company and you know they could probably pick it up. Like, where would you be leaning towards in that?
So over my own career, I've built a number of different teams, and in building a team, I quite often looked for somebody who had a bit of life experience. So I took mostly commercial teams. Mm-hmm. So one of the guys I took on used to be a brickie, and he went away to college and trained up. So you just know he's got something about him. He's hungry, and true enough, when he came in, he was really good. We shied away from out and out school leavers. Just it's. You know, but what works is, you know, there are quite a lot of organisations who now do the
graduate apprenticeships,
or even the prepared for work schemes. Yeah. So you know that the person will get up, will be on time, will be polite, you know, have some of these skills. But probably when we've been recruiting, it has been because what we're looking for are future engineers and managers. So we do tend to look for giving summer placements to university people. We've got a couple of those with us. So you're giving somebody the opportunity and experience, but we're trying to get ahead of before they come out of university. So you can give them experience. If they don't have what it's got, nobody's really lost anything. But, you know, you're giving somebody an opportunity. But it's probably geared towards university and degree educated, but...
Well, we've got a QS, and I had two strategies with that as well. One was to get a fourth year student and have them part-time with us, part-time at uni, to kind of get that life experience in the company and then reflect that in their studies. But there's no previous life experience with the candidate, so didn't really take to that. And then so we had to part ways, and then the next guy we got had been labouring on construction sites for 6 months, had been away travelling for 6 months, came in and it was night and day, totally different, just understood
communication skills and everything all there.
So just settled right into it, had done the exact same course from the exact same place, but with having those life skills just made them 10 times better from day one.
That is a good point then. So you're basically saying, like, get a job as early as you can, really. Whether that's even like weekend work whilst you're still at school, or like just something to actually start to pick up those people skills.
I always had a job when I was younger. I never had a choice. My dad made sure he had a job, but you know, worked at the car wash, worked at the go-kart racing, you know, washing machines. You always had, but it was installed, that kind of work ethic was kind of brought in really at an early age. And it's to listen to what you're saying around about kind of CVs and stuff like that. I like young people. We've had a lot of success stories in our business through young people in the office, and a lot of the time they've worked previously at a customer service job, something. McDonald's, I always think McDonald's is a great ground, and say what you want about McDonald's, but their training is fantastic. We've had great success with people who've worked in Sky before, because again, customer service, that background, you know, so office staff, that's been great. As far as instructors, we're a little bit different because we're not recruiting young people, because ultimately our instructors have to have, you know, the experience and the knowledge to be able to transfer that knowledge on. But we're when we're recruiting for instructors, we're recruiting guys who have got great industry experience and knowledge, and usually don't have any instructional background. And what we do is we use, you know, because it's easier to learn them how to become an instructor than it is to actually teach them 20 years industry experience. So we bring them in with experience, and then put them through their assessor qualifications, all that type of stuff, their teaching qualifications, and then build them that way. But I think we all know what you're looking for within a CV. I like to see somebody that's got a few years within a role and it's not been changing.
Well, that
all
links
the time.
into, there was a campaign, there's no
wrong
wrong path.
Yeah.
So being as employers, or, you know, being open-minded to look for people who have transferable skills. And you know, youngsters nowadays, you know, my father worked in the same factory for 35, 40 years. That type of career is almost not going to happen anymore. It looks like youngsters will have to find 2 or 3 different routes. Yeah. So, you know, if you start one direction and it doesn't quite work, or you get an opportunity to jump and do something else. And I suppose, coming back to the construction forum and construction, what we need to do in West Lothian is make sure that if somebody started on one path but then sees an opportunity in construction, that, you know, the industry is open-minded to identify the transferable skills and make sure we can try and attract them.
I think that's a goal for us as well, is to have that where people come to you saying, we've got a candidate, or I'm a candidate looking for a job in construction. If we could go out to the wider forum to say, is anybody hiring, and they're looking for somebody like this, so you can signpost candidates as well, because regardless of the size of any individual business, you might not be hiring at that specific time, but with the number
someone.
There's about 600 odd businesses in West Lothian.
Who knows what the forum might come to? The forum we might be at the size eventually that we've got a big enough network there, we've got a good portal website, something like that, where we can advertise jobs within West Lothian, you know, apprenticeship opportunities. We can actually grow and start creating our own pipeline. Why not?
But also making, you know, the work that the chamber or the schools or the college, the work that they're doing, making that accessible to a wider pool of construction businesses, so that construction businesses know that they could go to the college and there will be people who will be on a work-ready programme. Therefore, there's you know, they're not taking as big a gamble. So that, again, coming back to making that collaboration between education and the industry.
I always think of the forum.
Local educators.
I always think of the forum as being like, I've said this at like multiple meetings, but I just always stick with this phrase of like, we'll join the dots. So everybody already exists. Like, there's loads of businesses, there's CITB,
and it might not
there's
be us.
DYW. Exactly.
It might be somebody else in the meeting that knows.
But it's literally like, rather than there being all of these separate entities all kind of trying to charge forward to the same thing, just not together. It's just about like joining the dots so they link up and join together. I think that's how it will be done.
So I've got a meeting this afternoon with West Lothian College about different courses. What could you build for us? So that's a contact I got through doing one of the careers fairs, just chatting away to folks. So unless you're going somewhere, you're never going to make new contacts. So it's part of doing the networking is you can build contacts. So if you're not actively networking, then you're not building any contacts, and you're just insular. You're not going anywhere. So you need to start. Building your network, and it's a great opportunity for folk to build a network.
That'll be the same for us as a forum, because, you know, now as a forum we'll have access to the council. We'll probably have access to MSPs and MPs. So as we grow in confidence and size, we'll be able to use our voice to have some influence, to look to try and shape policy,
that's the goal, really.
and make sure that people of influence understand the challenges that we all take as an industry, or try.
It's trying to get a collective understanding of how that suits everybody, like you said, rather than it maybe being one organisation's, this is what we think, and we'll lobby this to Parliament and we'll tell them this is the change we want. It's like that they've not took into consideration that that doesn't cater to everyone, and that's why the forum probably is so widespread as well. Like we've got that whole education side and things as well, and all the different components. The mission the last 6 months probably has really been get the businesses in the room. So like would encourage anybody who's listening that thinks anything at all, say there's interest, hopefully it is, or we've just rabbited on for ages for no reason, but if it does have any interest, then just come along and see what it's about. What would our take be on sort of businesses out with West Lothian? Like our aim is to try and get the businesses of West Lothian, but like we're not going to be totally closed off.
Something in West Lothian, and they need
so somebody feels like they could come along and into the forum and sort of give us some advice from, they're out with the area. Like it's
they may not be based in West Lothian, but if they're contracting or working
giving
in West
jobs
Lothian,
in there,
if they're working with supply chain from West Lothian, and they're just out with, we're open to anything. It's not going to be like, oh, what's your postcode?
I think as well, if someone comes along from another area, they may well build a forum in their area, and then we can collaborate with their forum from that area. Yeah. So you start to have like a wider network of forums that's saying, well, what are you guys doing in the east? What are you guys doing in the west? How do we...
Well, Chamber of Commerce do that because they link together with the other Lothian chambers to try and widen that net a wee bit as well.
I think it's probably crucial to say as well, we're not trying to rease the Chamber's job and what the Chamber does, and they do some fantastic networking, the breakfast they do, but it is very non-specific industry-wise. You go along there and you network with different organisations, companies for different sectors, whereas this is a little bit more just targeted to the construction side of stuff. So, but we're not trying to do what the
And by the way, like that massively has its place as well. It's so great to be in a room where like you could get chatting to an accountant, a financial advisor, somebody to do your printing, whatever it might be. It's just literally, but this is just different, and it is construction based. Something you touched on there, John, which I think's quite interesting, is I like to think of the construction as having a pathway. So if I think of our one, it would be like someone would come in, do their apprenticeship, become a qualified roofer. Then at that point, if they want to progress, they would maybe look at doing like estimating or surveying for us, or they might want to go and be like a materials buyer. They might even want to work up through the sort of contract supervisor, contracts manager, up through those roles. And we've got like real live cases of those happening, which is great. But like what you'll notice as well is the best people for these roles are the trades, like the tradesmen or the tradespeople. So like at that point, for you to have like a really good, say, roofing assessor, you probably need a roofer. So you need to steal a roofer.
Yeah.
And it leaves a gap every time you do that. But they're then just needed, the trainers and the assessors are needed just as much as the young people.
Of course they are.
Or as the actual roofers on the tools. So
it's a pipe.
So we need to look at it in terms of the 10 to 15 year project. How do you get a young person in here so that this person come off at the other end, then go back and feed it back in? It's almost like the circle of life, the Lion King, for construction.
Break into song here.
I know.
You're absolutely right. I think industry experience and knowledge and guys, I don't see it as taking guys from out of industry and it creating a gap there, because if we take an instructor, they then qualify hundreds or thousands of guys over their career.
And who's going to do it? Like if that doesn't happen, who's going to do it?
So it's almost the same in every construction business, that the good and organised tradespeople are the ones that end up being the supervisors, and so the foreman and then the agents, in construction terms, a project manager or a site agent, quite often they'll have been a tradesperson originally. So you might get 10, 15 years on the tools, as you would call it, and then you go into supervision. So you do need to keep finding the younger.
And I think as businesses, if we don't have those pathways, then you're not going to retain your key staff either, because they're going to get to a point and go, I have been on the tools 10, 15 years.
That'll be another thing to...
And then they go, I need the next step, and if it's not available within your business, then they're probably going somewhere else.
But the schools and the youngsters probably think, right, if I was to pick to be a joiner or a plumber, that's me, a joiner or a plumber for my whole life. But no, there's other avenues and progression. There's progression.
But what's interesting, again, you speak to people at these careers fairs and they see joiners, brickies, roofers, plumbers, whatever, as being like one-man band teams. They're not parts of big companies. Look at your business, employing 50 odd people or something like that. they don't. A lot of parents don't see that as a career path. They just think they'll be in a small company. There'll be 2 or 3 of them. But actually, there's so many other examples of real success stories where you could grow a massive business of your own, or you could become a successful project manager, director in an established company. Which these are all high-paying, lucrative jobs. So
And
it's not just
you see with the renewables industry. So whether it's offshore engineering or overclads for houses, the amount of material envelope upgrades that are needed, and the teams that need to come in and do that work are huge. So the opportunities are there in the industry.
I think it's the best time to get in, is now. The best time was 10 or 20 years ago, but the next best time is
the
now.
houses. You need 1.5 million houses, and the infrastructure that need to support all that. Like you say, the renewables. That's not just on houses, but it's in wind farms, offshore, onshore, whatever. There's loads of stuff, even if it's road tracking or whatever. These are all construction skills that need a base level. So, and then they've all got room to grow as well.
And it's just small, like, movements towards making this better. Like, they've been speaking about, like, this missing million. Like, we need 1 million tradesmen by, I don't know if it's 2028, that seems not that far away, but it probably is, because there's so many going out the other end. So it's like, but that doesn't start by like this big crazy fund coming for the government and all of a sudden like 1 million people come in. That starts with going to a careers fair, coming along to the forum, picking some people's brains, learning some stuff, seeing how you can take on your first apprentice. Like, I think giving an opportunity. Yeah. Do you know, it's very small steps to kind of get to build the momentum to just, if everybody's doing a little bit of that, it should turn the corner.
I think there's a lot of smaller businesses out there who are maybe a bit reluctant to take on apprentices and see it as a cost and see it as a risk, and they don't want to invest. But it's everybody's responsibility if they want to make the industry stronger moving forward. I sit on a few different forums and things like that, and you sit around the table and people are saying, "Oh, we can't get good employees, and we can't get this," and then you say, "Have you got any apprentices?" Like, no, like, and you're like, well, start growing your own if you really care. But with this forum again, we've got CITB coming along to the next one. As my dates might be out, I'm not sure.
I think they'll have been last week.
Yeah, sorry,
it's probably.
But we can set the relationships up with CITB to let you know about funding and taking on apprentices and how you get support to help to do that. There's
also the colleges do all that for you.
Absolutely.
So I've taken on a few apprentices. Some of them have gone day release into college. Some of them have been with external verifiers. So you can find a model that suits you. Yeah. But there's companies out there that do it. You just need to ask them what you want, or tell them what you want, and they will deliver it for you and do all the paperwork.
What you were saying, John, is right, because some companies will be slightly fearful because they think, right, I have to take a young person on, and that has to be a success. If I invest in somebody, that has to be a success. And if that is a bit of a barrier, because we all know that not everybody that starts out in construction is really cut out for construction, because it's quite a tough industry, as we know. So, you need certain skills to be able to survive in the industry. But if, as an employer, you're willing to keep giving it a go, so maybe not every single one's a success, but if you've got 1 and 2 or 2 and 3 are a success, then you have to almost build that in, that not everybody will come out the other end and stay in the industry, but you should get enough returns and find enough good people.
I found that really difficult in the early days when I had a small team and I would take an apprentice on, and they became such a key component of what we had. This is when we maybe had like less than half a dozen of us basically, and it stung so much as well, because it was a big momentous movement for me to be like, I'm going to take on an apprentice, because I took on my brother, and then when I came to taking on my second one, my second and third apprentices, who would both have been fantastic in this industry, and like they'd have went the full pathway with Taylor Roos, they both are left industry. One's in swimming pools now. I think he's management, but like within like Excite or something like that, which like good enough career, but just he just could have done so well in this industry, and the other lad stayed in the industry, but I think he went to engineering or something. So thankfully he stayed in the industry, but it's just like that stung. So I was like, I was actually at that point thinking, I'm not going to do this again, but I did, and because I did, it's probably been a big part of our success. And we've brought through probably 10, 15 apprentices, I think, over the time, and that sometimes that's been. Another companies went bust, and we've adopted their apprentice at year 2 or year 3 and got them through. And do you know, that's a big commitment as well. But you've just got to do it, like you said, John. You can't sit and moan about it. No, you've got to. You need to do something to make it better.
Responsibility. Yeah. It's every employer's responsibility to try and get involved and start filling the shortages that are there. But as I said, it shouldn't be too daunting, because there's plenty of support there. But colleges and CITB and industry want people to take on apprentices.
It's coming.
And there's grants. There's money available to help get people into industry.
It's probably as well as like trying to weave things into it that. Like, so what we've started doing, and it does slow the process down, but like we bring like apprentices in for 6 months to a year first. So they come in and we take them through the winter, and if they survive the winter, there's a good chance they're going to stay on roofing. Because we used to make the issue where make the problem for ourselves, where they would come to us maybe around March, April time. Yeah. And then they would come on board and they would start college in August, and they're like, this is brilliant. Yeah. Do you know, they've had a wee honeymoon period, then they've had the summer, 2 weeks at college, 2 weeks back at work. That's the way ours works. It's no day release, it's sort of 2 week blocks. And then winter comes and they're like, whoa, I don't like this. Do you know, and they just might not be built for it. Yeah. Whereas our apprentice of the year, Robbie, who was along at the forum, we've been doing a wee bit of sort of speaking at different things, and I asked him in fact it was a Trade Legends podcast me and him went and did together, and I asked him like how he was getting set for the winter, and do you know what he said? Cold showers. So he's actually 19-year-old and he's gone, I have a cold shower every morning, it makes you be that wee bit more strong through the day. And then he's like, and if that doesn't work, you just put a second jumper on. And I'm like, do you know, and they're saying this is gone now, like young people didn't care and all that, but there is gems in that.
Absolutely. There's plenty of young folk. Definitely. Once they're given guidance, there's plenty of young folk wanting to do well in life.
Anyone who's listening and fancies coming along to the construction forum, come and see what it's all about. We'd love to be able to support you, let you be a part of that, and I think
get input.
Yeah, like just input. We want to. It's sort of one of these things. It's built for. If you come along, it's getting built for you, basically, and that's the way we want to mould it around what the businesses need, rather than let's build something and push it to the businesses. Absolutely. It's let's build something for the businesses.
And if somebody's coming along and they have a topic or they have an expertise, let's get them in and share it, or we'll find somebody with that expertise to help with the topic. Yeah.
No, it's new and exciting, and we're kind of at a starting point where we can mould it and shape it with influence everybody that gets involved. So it'd be good to see as many along as possible.
Well, guys, thanks very much for that. We'll see you on the next one.